writing Shut You Up. Shut You Up really defines the Black Swan Theory era for us, our fourth record. And what I mean by that is at that time, I was 17, senior in high school. We were already doing our fourth record, but we had some different band members. We had some heavier influences as far as bands that we were listening to, and we were headed into a angrier, heavy kind of genre, more a little bit more to the metal scene, and that's kind of where we headed into the Texas metal territory that we hadn't really delved in before. We were a little bit more mellow before that, and it wasn't the first song that we wrote for that record, but it really sets the tone. I think it's kind of like the song that encapsulates that record. And writing it was a lot of fun. You know, that was when we started to really down tune. You know, a half step. You know, a lot of heavy riffs and all that. A lot more screaming, a lot more aggression. We really wanted to have a song that was like I'm gonna kick your ass kind of song, a fuck you song. And that was that song, you know, and we kind of took a little bit of inspiration from bands like Sick Puppies that we had played with at our hometown, and I had actually taken inspiration from the girl that I had written Broken Smile for. As you might have guessed, it did not work out in the long run. And I heard one of the guy that she was seeing now had said something along the lines of like, "Oh, if I see that guy, you know, Sebastian, I'm gonna kick his ass," or something like that. I don't remember, but of course, you know, that was my retaliation. I was like, "Oh yeah, we'll see, motherfucker." But I mean, that was you know, a senior high school macho stuff, but it turned into a great song, and I'm really proud of it. And it was a lot of fun. Like I mentioned before, it really defines the sound of that fourth record, and we love playing that song. And it really evolved. You know, the lyrics changed a lot as time went on. It became more refined, and it was just. It started off a really raunchy idea and ended up becoming so important to the future of that record and what it is now, what it became.
I remember coming into the practice pad we had, and for the most part, we were just uh, jamming here and there, and then we had always had like a want to make like a really hardcore, like a little more of a heavier sounded song than we had at the time, and I remember I believe Sebastian came in with a couple of riffs here and there, and slowly but surely, like a song started getting developed around a couple of those riffs.
Recording Shut You Up was an extremely important learning process for us as a band. Um, we recorded it at Sonic Ranch Studios with producer Noah Shane, who had worked with bands like Atreyu, very versatile producer. He also worked with Sonny Moore before he was known as Skrillex. And we learned an immense amount of knowledge when it comes to you know, everything that goes behind a metal record. And we had you know, the experience of recording 3 previous records, but we had never recorded an album that was so heavy and so I guess, you know, in the metal genre, you know what I mean? And when we recorded Shut You Up, you know, it's most people, you know, don't know, and that goes for any record, don't know how much work and layers and tedious hours go into that. So recording Shut You Up, getting the drum sound took days, you know what I mean? And everything that we did was completely worth it, but getting that powerful snare, those drum fills, everything, you know, we did it over and over and over to get that really gritty bass sound. And even with the guitars, you know, we were overdubbing like crazy with heavier guitars, heavier strings. um, and Noah really, really pushed me as a vocalist as well. You know, singing that chorus and getting the grit in my voice because I was maturing a lot more as a musician at the time, as we all were. And you know, even recording the solo, you know, was really important. I wanted to nail something and really, you know, give the song justice. And Noah Shane, you know, really helped us. The song was composed, but he really helped us refine it as far as you know, really cleaning it up. It was a little, you know, I mean, as any band, you know, a producer's job is to, you know, take what a band has and be able to improve upon it and give it a more sleek sound to the audience that the band is trying to reach. And that's exactly what he did while teaching us so many great lessons.
Pretty much all of Black Swan Theory was just a wild ride. I remember using several different basses on the whole album, but I remember the I remember like having a fight with the producer at the time as to like which bass to use on this song. I wanted to use my personal Fender and jazz, and he wanted to use a I think it was a P bass from another Fender P. Uh, and I remember like going over both, like playing it over and over with both basses, and I remember he was just like, it sounds way or like meaner with this bass, and I just wanted it with that with my jazz. I don't know why. I guess just a personal preference. Um, so we finally. I just remember him like letting it go. I was like, you know what, it's your music. Fine, we'll do it with your bass.
The video shoot for Shut You Up was very fun, another tedious process, as I've been saying for this whole song, but again, worth it. We worked again with director Christopher Jones, and for anybody in the El Paso or West Texas area, if you look at the location of where we shot it, it's actually 2 hours east of El Paso, near Van Horn, right before I-10 and I-20 kind of split off. And it was like an abandoned church, and Christopher had found that location, and so you know we wanted to do that song, and that video was a little different. The videos that we did before that was, you know, Zombie, you know, it was just me. This one, we said, you know what, no storyline. It's a in-your-face, kick-ass song. Let's just, you know, rock the hell out. So we, you know, packed up all our stuff, drove out there, and you know, it was a little tougher, you know, because you know, setting up in different locations, the drums, you know, all that stuff, you know, it's kind of hard to hear the track that you're trying to play along to, but it was great. Christopher Jones did a great job with experimenting with some different camera angles, you know, when I'm doing the guitar solo, when I get kind of, you know, on the quieter parts, and you know, some of the slow motion drum hits and the bass and the jumps and all that. It was a lot of fun. You know, the coloring and filter that he put over the entire video was great. If you notice, the actual music video is a shorter cut of the actual track. I think the second verse is cut out, and we did that on purpose. We wanted it to be a more compact, more you know, like, this is Bash, this is Shut You Up, this is what we look like, this is what we sound like. Take it or leave it.
I remember the guitarist wanted to get like this specific jump in, so every time we do it, he would like get back up on these stones, get ready, and as everything happened, jump down. And I still remember when, like after the video, he was like, "Bam, my leg kind of hurts from stomping the ground from like slamming every time."
Shut You Up is definitely one of our most popular songs. And as I mentioned before, it, along with the record as a whole, Black Swan Theory, ushered in a new era of where we were heading as a band. And, you know, that's when we were touring very, very hard, you know what I mean? and that record was just selling like crazy, and everywhere we went, it was so high energy. The whole album was very high energy. But Shut You Up, we ended the set with it, that drum fill in the beginning, just the solo, we got a lot of requests for it. That's why we did the video for that song first. It was just great. We were playing a lot of, we always did a variety of different shows. We still did the club shows, Texas, Dallas, everywhere, California. And, we did the festivals, and Shut You Up worked anywhere.
The reception has been phenomenal for this song. For a long while there, it was probably the one we finished with, just because it like really brought up like the energy in our sets. There's so many times where it's just like people will come up and like, oh, I love that song, like, and that's the song that like people will get the merch from us for. It's really strong, a really strong song to end a set on. That is like, everybody's drained part through the end of any given situation that we have, but on that one it's just everything just lights up again.